Good morning, America. Good morning to all the ladies out there who are taking the time at this moment in the time of COVID-19 to look at some of the things that they wanted to do and they couldn't. For instance, your photography, your jewelry making, your cake decorating. Golly, just a couple weeks ago, my sister brought us a cake, left it on the front porch steps. Very good. And it was delicious because that's what she does. So this is Yvonne DeVita. You're watching Smart Women Conversations. And I have a special guest today who's going to talk to us about time and money and how we marry the two. Welcome to the show, Vicki.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
And Vicki, can you please pronounce your last name for me?
It's Wusche. You need to get a bit of whoosh in your life. Yes.
I love it. I knew the whoosh. So I'm glad I asked about the whoosh. So let me tell you a little bit about Vicki, because this is going to be such an amazing talk today. And as you know, we need my trusty little glasses for this part. So, you know, earlier this year, Vicki and I arranged this and we had it all set up, and then boom, you know what happened? COVID happened. You know, I would have told you she was an international author and speaker. She is a business owner. She's even one of the top 25 most influential people in property in property investment. And that, you know, we're going to talk about that, according to the British newspaper, The Telegraph. You know, now, Vicki would say, right, that what we did before is not as important as the thoughts and skills and experiences we can share now with each other. I think Vicki is a thought leader. And, you know, I try to be a thought leader, ladies, for y'all of you. I'm really excited to bring her on the show today. I'm delighted to have this conversation about how we can all use this time in isolation as a positive. And Vicki, one of the things I saw that you say is we are all here to serve the world, whether we know it or not. That is something, that's where I would like to start, because when we talk about serving the world, it's a way of serving ourselves also. And time is the one thing that's a constant that everyone only has 24 hours of. Talk a little bit about that.
I think the thing is, 24 hours and time is really a human construct, a way for us, like you and I, to agree to be on this website at this moment so that we were both here and you weren't looking at a blank screen or vice versa. But have you ever experienced it that when you're on holiday, doesn't the first half of the holiday maybe go too quickly and then the last half of the holiday suddenly go too slowly? So one minute you don't want to go back and the next minute you do want to go back. Or when you're doing a job you don't like, it drags. When you're doing something you do like, you know, time is just lengthened. Time has no meaning when you're doing what you love and what you're passionate about. Well, imagine if you spent your whole day doing what you love, then actually 24 hours might seem like 48 hours or 100 and something hours. It's how we have the relationship with time that matters. And the difference, and that's what's really fascinating. I'm dreadfully sorry for everybody that is going to be affected by COVID, both from a health perspective, losing loved ones, financially is going to be absolutely massive impact. And I think more, obviously, it's got to work out this way, more people are going to be affected financially than for health, because if it was the other way around, there'd be nobody left on the planet. So more of us are going to be affected financially than by the health side of this. But what we've got out of this is a gift to really think in this slowed down time when you're indoors. You're not stuck indoors, you're indoors with a chance to think. You're indoors with an opportunity to plan what you will do when you come out the other side. And that's the gift of time, because our time will feel much slower for us now than when we were on that roller coaster of up every day, go to work, do what we have to do, rush back, feed the kids, do the washing, blah, 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 blah. Time gone, bed, start again. It's not like that now.
No, it's not. And I have to say that I am connected to a lot of entrepreneurs. And these are people with really small businesses. I'm talking about a dog walking service, for instance, or someone who makes jewelry, where I'm not talking about a small business that has employees. I'm talking about really small entrepreneurial people who take care of their own business. And for us, your point is well taken. Before COVID, there was this time. So this time is when I was at my desk doing whatever, or making appointments, or fulfilling my duties, or whatever else it was that I was doing. And then this time was for going home to make dinner and sit down and watch TV or visit family. And now time has become this burden upon us because we're stuck. We're all here in our homes. We don't quite know what to do with it, but there are things. Now, I'm blessed. My daughter, her 2 kids, my 2 grandkids, 3 cats, and her husband live with us at the moment. They moved in right before all this happened, and boom, trying to sell their house was put on hold, and here they are. So I'm blessed. My life is very busy and happy, but I really think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, time in COVID, time when we're going to be out, because I think maybe we should be looking towards that, right?
Definitely.
It becomes something that now you can look at so differently, that turn it into a benefit, turn it into something that you can do something with, correct? I mean,
Definitely.
You have ideas. I love the way you talk about this.
Oh, thank you. So I think one of the things, and it almost seems an awful word to use now, but before COVID was ever part of our language, so last year, I started talking to people about mortality moments, because what I realized is, so I was trying to work out, how do I think about the things that I think in the way that I think them? And how is that different from the way that you think? And how have I written all these books? And why have I said the things that I've said? And I worked out that actually it was because I've been through a series of mortality moments in my life, moments when I became aware of my own mortality. So in between my 2 children, I had an ectopic pregnancy, terrifying when you come round from it and you go,
Wow.
that was a bit close.
Yeah.
A mortality moment. Maybe I'm not, and particularly as your audience is going to be majority of women listening to this, although there might be some men, we have this, we're born with this need to be superwoman. We have to be successful in business. We have to be the wonderful mother. We have to be the perfect wife. You got to cook. You got to clean. You got to da 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 da. So you've got this superwoman complex or avatar that you're striving to, and superwoman is immortal. She can do anything. She's got the wristbands and she can do anything. But actually, when you get a mortality moment, you go, crikey, okay, maybe this thing of time that we've been speaking about isn't going to go on forever. And so maybe I need to just really stop and think for a minute about what's important to me and what do I want. So that was one. And then there have been several through my life. And they could be as simple for you as maybe a near miss in a car, one of those really scary when you get the rush of adrenaline, or it could be when a family member either has a near car accident or a car accident or even falls ill. And of course, now what we've got is a global mortality moment. Everybody on the planet is now aware, that consciously aware, because you sort of knew that you weren't going to live forever, but actually consciously aware that you're not going to live forever. And what's happening is people are going 2 ways. Some people are going down into a fear pit. And this is where your thoughts go back into your unconscious mind, which is your survival part of your mind. And here you are worried about whether you will live, whether you will die. You are worried about money. You are worried about home. You're worried about food. You're panic buying. I don't know if you're doing this, but we seem to panic buy pasta and toilet rolls. Have you been doing the same? Oh, same.
Yep.
So it's a global toilet roll issue. Okay.
Right. They're worth gold.
So, that's when you're down here in this survival mode. But then some people have seen this as an opportunity, and you'll notice those people because they're like us. They're doing podcasts, they're writing books, they're keeping their businesses going, they're planning for the future, and they're somewhere else. They've come up out of this. They've recognized that, all right, I'm not going to live forever. I am going to live a long time. I'm taking all the precautions now. I'm going to be fine through this COVID crisis because I'm socially isolating. I'm wearing the masks. I'm not mixing with people, etc. So now I can turn my mind, because this is calm. I can turn my mind to thinking about other things. And now I can start to look to the future. So the next biggest threat to us all is financial. And I always come back to this. And I think that's the piece in my life where I was a single mother. So not necessarily a mortality moment there, but that was a crisis moment when I suddenly became a single parent with 2 children under 3. And I had to count every penny. And I remember, and these were like so many years ago. And it's funny, isn't it? It wasn't that long ago. It was 25 years or so ago, but it was before the internet. It was before mobile phones. So we didn't have all of this stuff, apps and everything. And I had this ring binder notepad, and I literally used to write down if I spent 10p in the phone box. If I put a 10p piece in the phone box, I wrote that on my budget. And that concern at that time for money has made it something that is very uppermost in my thinking. And so I always say to people, now is a perfect opportunity to become more financially aware of your own circumstances. And we were chatting a bit about this before we started the show.
Yeah. So I'm listening to you because I too was a single mom. I had 3 young kids, and I was taught by my mother, who was interesting in the 50s. She was a business owner. So she was an entrepreneur, and it was something difficult in the 50s. You didn't, in the late 50s, early 60s, and throughout my high school years, she ran the corner grocery store.
My mum ran the sweetie shop.
And well, see how, and the thing is, she was very good with math. So I am not necessarily good with math, but what I did learn was to live in a budget. And that helped me when I was a single parent, because like you, I knew every dollar, every penny that went out. I knew what I was spending on. I didn't have any extra, so it was easy. But that stayed with me when I started getting better jobs, and I now had a little money, and things were a little easier. And so now here we are. We are at a place where you and I have a sense of, I think we were saying earlier before we started the recording, that time is a human construct, that people invented time. And one of the things you said that I loved is that every time you spend money, you're taking time away. Talk to me about that.
Okay, so our society is set up that the way that we get money now, as we know it, is that we do something in exchange for it. And what most people do is have a job.
Right.
Your listeners will also have businesses that may sell a service or a product. So they might, as you said, make jewelry, and then they sell the jewelry, but to make the jewelry took time. Or they walk a dog for a fee, but in order to walk the dog, it takes time. So all of us are trading time for money. And so one of the things that both you and I shared in common was moving house. And we talked about how we thought we didn't have a lot of stuff, how we tidied up all the stuff that we thought we had and sorted it out into our priorities. And then when the truck came, the truck still wasn't big enough. And then we still seemed to have a house full, even though we gave loads of it away and didn't think we had a lot to start with.
Absolutely.
So the point I was making is, if you look around you, everything you have, from your clothes to your haircut, to the books on your shelves, to the, the microphone, the screen, all of those things, yes, they have a financial cost, but they also had a time cost too. So how many days, weeks, or months did you work in order to afford the monitor or even the mobile phone that you are watching and listening this podcast on? And then if you then start to think to yourself, and let's just use something simple like the screen, and we're just going to say it's worth 2,000 units, dollars or pounds or whatever, 2,000. Now, that £2,000, we're just going to say cost you, say 200 hours, just to be nice, and say that there's 10 hours that you're awake in a day. Well, that's a bit rich, but let's say there's 10 hours in a day because it's going to make my maths nice. That's 20 days. So what could you do with 20 days, which is a whole month? So you work for a whole month just to get this screen. Now, maybe the screen is actually something that's important, but did you really need, and I'm sorry to say this, and I will qualify it in a minute, but did you really need that extra pair of shoes? And I'm only using that because we're women. And actually I have a real shoe problem that I had to squash. I had shoes in boxes that I bought because they were beautiful, but I wouldn't wear them because they were so beautiful that I didn't want to ruin them. I didn't want to scuff them. Now that's someone who needs treatment about her shoes.
Interesting.
I'm quite happy to put that up. And then I sold my whole shoe collection and broke that link between my desire for shoes, because what I was doing was I was spending money on shoes because shoes made me happy. I thought I was spending money on shoes because I thought shoes made me happy, but actually the shoes were sitting in the cupboard. I'd spent time to earn the money, and yet I could have been spending time on things that made me happy. Because if you remember, if you spend time on things that make you happy, there aren't only 24 hours in the day in that limiting sense. Every day is endless, is joyful. So if you don't spend quite so much money on buying things that you don't need because you think they're going to be happy, make you happy, and do the things that are going to make you happy, you flip it all on the head.
So Vicki, this is so, in some ways, I want to say profound, because we live in a materialistic society. The world we live in has become buy this, buy this, buy this. And I used to tell a friend, and this was 25 years ago also, when I was newly divorced, but when I was learning that exactly what you say, I don't think I looked at it that way. I didn't know that's what I was thinking, but I think I was learning that. I used to say that it's really sad that people don't know what to eat or what to buy if they haven't seen it on TV. So not having, now you had a shoe fetish. I have a good number of shoes, but I have a closet, a double closet, so packed, I probably couldn't get another thing in. And to the point we were making when we moved, I got rid of so much. Now I'm looking at it going, sadly, I didn't need to buy this. I didn't need to buy this. I didn't need to buy this. So now I spent my time and my money that could have been put elsewhere doing something I really like, to your point, taking the kids to the movies or something. So how can we help other women, especially women of a certain age? So I'm going to say women over 45. I'm even going to go down to 45, but women over 45, but especially those of us over 55, because I'm retired, quote unquote, still doing what I love to do, blessed that I'm able to, not everyone is, but in the end, we still don't, so many of us, especially women like myself, I'm not good at this, we don't look at money as an investment. I look at money as something I earn to buy groceries, pay my utilities, and if I have any left, I can do something with. When I don't have much left, I'm sad. So I don't know how to do the investment thing so that I will have that left. And I think your book, by the way, we need to talk about your book, the Wealthy Retirement Plan, a revolutionary guide to living the rest of your life in style. I want people to get that book. I'm going to talk about it. Absolutely. I have a e-copy of it, and ladies and gentlemen, one of the best books on this topic that I personally have read. And I say that because, again, I'm telling you, I'm not good at this stuff. But those of us who aren't good, Vicki, it's so delightful. It's so encouraging to see another woman who can speak to it, but also speak to it in words I can understand.
Oh, good. Because I do think sometimes I get a little passionate about this, and I sort of go off, and then I think,
Awesome.
and particularly when we talk about maths and money, you know, that terrifies a lot. That makes people shrink back down into that scared place again. So when I wrote this book, I sort of was aware of the fact that there are 5 principles. So first of all, be clear about what you want your life to be like. So that's what the conversation we were just having now is. If you didn't have to work, and we're in this situation now, which is why it's a gift. If you didn't have to work in the way that you used to, just to pay the bills, because you can't at the moment, what would you do with your time? So I have renewed my love with the garden. I have planted seeds. The whole sunny side of the house was full of seed trays with dirt in there, and then sprayed with stuff to keep the cats off, so the cats didn't suddenly think there were indoor litter trays all over the house. And I sprouted all of these seeds, and I've got tomato plants that are this big, and I've got broccoli, and I've got, well, maybe I'm going to have carrots. I don't know. I've got carrot tops at the moment and what's going on underneath. But, you know, I'm growing all of this stuff. And I was out there in the garden the other day thinking, oh my goodness, I need to rethink my business, because pre-COVID, and there's a little bit about my hips and everything else, pre-COVID and everything else, I used to just travel around all over the place, speaking to the books, running events, speaking at other people's events, doing all of that sort of stuff, traveling up and down the UK, buying houses for my clients. And I don't know that I want to spend my time doing that anymore. I want to rethink my business. So getting clear about how you want to spend your time is the first one. Number 2, and this really speaks to your point, is getting in control of your money. This can't be something that you avoid. This can't be something that you decide to bury back there because you're afraid of it. Again, we've got a perfect opportunity. We may have only, I sort of hope not, but we may only have a few more weeks of this in lockdown. And therefore you need to act really quickly to get to grips with your budget. You said that you go to work in order to spend the bills. I'm not going to directly ask you to answer this, but do you know exactly how much money you need a month to pay for your food bills, to pay for any mortgage or rent, to pay for any utility bills and council taxes and taxes? Do you know that number? Okay. Now I can tell you, you are a rare woman that knows that precise number. Now it'd be really interesting to know if your husband also knows that number.
Yes, because we sit down and figure it out together.
And then you're a rare couple. Now, I've worked with thousands of clients, and I can tell you that at least 80% of my clients, A, don't know the number that they need on a monthly basis. And if one of them knows it, the other partner doesn't, because they've abdicated the financial responsibility. So the fact that both of you speak about money makes you very rare. So listeners, if you and your partner aren't both speaking about money, that's one thing you need to fix. And 2, if you don't know the number, that is the amount of income to cover your basics. So your insurance, your accommodation, your food, and at the moment we can't travel. So just the basics, not the extra bits to the shoe collection or the wardrobe, and not getting your hair done, just the basics. You need to understand that number, because when you do, you can then start to look at number 3, which is your resources, and start to think, well, what do I have around me that I can make to work better for me? So can I leverage my knowledge into a product or a service? Can I leverage something I'm passionate about into a service? So I love making jewelry. I have a jewelry making business. I love animals. I walk dogs. I feel I understand something, so I write books, or I do podcasts, or I coach. There's a whole side part there where you, before you go rushing off to make a business, you need to make sure there's a market for it and get the maths right. But we're just going through the 5 principles. So clear how you want to live your life, in control of your finances, because that empowers you. and de-stresses you. And then looking at the resources, what you have around you, your knowledge, your time, because you're clearer about that. Yes, your money, but also your experiences and your contacts. And then looking at how you can put them better to work. And that's number 4, leverage. Is there something that you have around you as a resource that you're not making work for you in a way that could serve you and how you want to spend your time and live your life better? And that's where we had the conversation about money. And then the last one is legacy. How do you want to serve this world? How do you want to impact this world? And it can be, particularly now with COVID, and I'm not so sure how it is for you in the States. I've spoken to other people in the States and Canada, and everyone's a bit different. But here, one of the things that we did was all the hotels are shut because there's no tourists. There are homeless people. We can't have them on the streets because we can't make sure that they're safe from COVID. We have cleared the streets of homeless people, and they are being housed in the empty hotels. And I hope getting all of the support that they need. You know what I pray for? Don't let's put them back out on the street. I actually feel a physical response to that. My whole body sinks with some negative feeling at the thought that when this is over, there are people who were homeless, who've been brought in, who've been helped, who've been supported, and that we might put them back out on the streets again.
Yes.
You know,
well,
and what about the pollution? And what about, you know, educating our children? There are so many things, and that's the legacy bit. So then you come full circle back round to thinking about how do you want to live your life? And you boost it with the passion of your legacy, which makes you want to be in control of your money more, which makes you want to do your resources more. And then you don't have to force anybody, because as you go round the circle, you get energized. You want to know what your money's going on. You wonder, hang on a second, why are we making that spending decision? I want to make better decisions now about how I spend my money so I can spend my time the way I want.
And that is, I mean, we're coming to the end of our time, and that is the key here, is understanding the relationship between time and money, and the 5 points that you made that are in your book. And so Vicki, as we go forward, I'm trying gently to think about what will happen to those homeless people. Some of the hotels here also have opened up and admitted homeless, but I'm also thinking about folks whose jobs have now gone bye-bye that may never come back. And what will happen to them? So because we human beings cannot predict the future. We don't know 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whether something like this will happen again, whether something else catastrophic will happen. So in the meantime, I'm urging the women and the men who might be watching to get your book and to begin thinking about that, because as you and I know, that 5, 10, 15 years is not far away. Time is, again, because it's a construct that we've invented, it somehow passes so much faster when you get to be our age. And I'm maybe we're not as busy as we used to be. I don't know what it is, but I know that I enjoy the fast pace when the weekend gets here, because now we do take weekends to enjoy things, and I literally shut down and don't really look at the computer or anything. But it's time to be thoughtful about where you're going to be in those 5 to 10 years. What advice will you leave the listeners and the viewers with?
Okay, so I think I will go with, I think it's going to end up 3 things. It might be 4 things. I haven't counted them all. 1, be clear on what you want in the future, which is based on your values. So you've got a real opportunity now to think what's important to you. You used to be on this wheel, go to work, go to work, go to work. That's paused for a minute. What is important to you? And it might be that what you realize, if you're currently living alone, as I was speaking to a client today, she's alone, that she's really going to value company. So whatever she's going to do after this is going to, I would imagine, involve both her family and a much more social life and more social connections. Some of you might have been living with your family and think, actually, the last thing I ever want is to meet anybody else, and I'm going to go and find myself a cabin in the logs. So you in the woods. So you've got to, you've got to start to think, what's important to you? I want to really finish my garden and make that an important feature so that I have time for that, maybe several times a week. I want to be able to sit in it every evening. I might look at how I spend my days. So that's number one. What do you want your life to be like? It's a wish list. Okay. Number two, get in control of your money and recognize how you're making spending decisions now. And that every time you spend that money, you took away some of your time from doing the thing that you loved in order to buy something you probably didn't need. And not only that, when you did that purchase, you gave that money to somebody else so that then they can do what they want with that money. So that's that first thing there. The next thing is educate yourself. So this is where we're veering off from the 5 principles for a minute. Educate yourself. We don't know what the future is going to be like. What I can guarantee you is that it's going to be difficult and different and difficult. And people are talking about how when we come out of isolation, we're going to go to the new normal. That's a silly word. Nothing is going to be normal.
Yes.
What we're going to go into is the new unnormal. Mm-hmm. We're going to go into a brave new future that I firmly believe, just because obviously I'm a bit weird, I firmly believe that we can shape. I firmly believe that if you start to speak to people about where your values are, that we at the lower levels here can start to coalesce around certain things that matter to us that maybe governments have forgotten, and we can start to influence with our votes. I know you've got elections, we'll eventually have elections. This isn't meant to be political, but with our voices, we can start to shape the future. And if we don't want the homeless people put back on the street, we need to stand up and say that. And if we don't want pollution, we need to stand up and say that. And I know your question is about people who've lost their jobs, and I'll come to that in just a second. But if you have got a job and you're going to go back to a job, and the way it used to be was that you had to travel, causing pollution for an hour of wasted time in order to get to a physical location to do work that actually during the COVID period, you've been able to do better and quicker in a shorter amount of time at home. What about having a conversation with your employer about only going into the office 2 or 3 days a week and working the rest of the time at home? We could cut pollution by 50% if people only went to work 50% of the time and stayed at home and worked 50% of the time. So we've got the opportunity to have brilliant ideas here about what matters to us and bring it all together. And then if you are in the position where you've lost your job, this is where the education comes in. I can't tell you what you need to learn because I don't know you, but anything that you don't know, go and learn it. So if you aren't good with computers, if you aren't good with, all the apps and stuff, if you aren't good, and it does need to be about technology because the world moves forward with technology. So you need to know that a lot. If your English isn't so good, take a course, not as in speaking English, but your written English or your spoken English, or learn another language, but learn stuff. Maybe take a marketing course. But the best thing of all is observe. Because while you're making decisions consciously, because we've had the conversation about your buying decisions, you're going to now start to think about what you spend on. Let's look and see what trends we've got. We joked about toilet paper and pasta and that whole panic. That's not going to continue. But there are going to be other things that people are interested in. Let's take gyms, for example. Everybody is exercise mad now. Our weather is good. People, if I look out my window, they're running, they're cycling, they're doing all sorts of stuff, even just going for walks. My daughter is walking 4 miles a day. Now, we all belong to a gym before the virus, and that cost us £100 a month. Do I need to belong to a gym if I could get fit just by walking and cycling here?
Well, in a lot of gyms, Vicki, a lot of gyms are putting their stuff online.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing I was going to say to you. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of the body coach, Joe Wicks. So we have him here in England. He does an exercise class at 9 o'clock every morning. Millions of people are going onto YouTube to watch this free exercise class. So if I could go out for a walk, come back, do my Joe Wicks for half an hour, start work at 10 o'clock, because then 9:30 to 10, I have a shower, start work at 10 o'clock every day. Do I need my gym membership? And so the question is, what will happen to gyms in the future? Or will everybody go, oh, now the gyms are open, I need to join a gym? I don't know the answer.
But it's
we can
a way
start
to
to
shape,
observe.
right, to shape. I liked what you said, shape your future.
Yeah. So start to observe what the mass, excuse me calling them this, but it's like a marketing term. What are the masses doing? What are the masses interested in? And where is there a business opportunity for you? Because I don't want to scare your dog walker, but you know, if everybody is now at home, they'll be walking their own dogs. Might they find a love for walking their own dog? Might they choose to change the way they work? And so we don't want dog walking, but what we do need is dog grooming and dog, don't have a dog, but dog nail clippering, right? So could your dog walker client learn dog grooming and dog nail clippering?
Absolutely.
Because the market might change. And I don't know what it will change to. None of us do, but we can learn and we can observe. And that's it. I don't know how many words that was. So that was get clear, work on your financials, learn and observe. That's what people are struggling, whether you've got a job or not got a job, that's what you need to be doing now.
Well, and the thing that I would add is, I want to say, don't give up. Don't think, and this is a thing that I deal with on a good bit with the ladies that I talk to. Well, I'm not important. I'm not smart enough. I don't have any of those talents. Absolutely, you do. Absolutely, you have some talent that will be useful. And if you need me to help you find it, that's what I'm here for, at Nurturing Big Ideas. But in the end, I love what you've been saying about, in some respects, you're saying human nature, the human spirit, and we have this opportunity to not go back to this new norm. I agree with you. It isn't a new norm. We're going to go back to a world that we now have a chance to shape in the way that we want. And so that's what I want to leave with you ladies. I want you to think about this. I want to think about your life and how you can shape your future. And if you need help, Vicky's right. You can find it. You can take a class. There are a lot of classes online you can take. You don't even have to leave your house. And there's
a lot of stuff that's free.
Right. And look at
right now it's free. This is another one of those opportunities.
And you can offer some free stuff for gosh sakes, but then look at the bigger picture of the whole world of where you live, in your state, your region, and then your country, and how are you going to help shape that for the future? Because the future is there, and it's only what you're going to make of it.
Yeah. So Vicki, and I think community is going to play a big part of this when we come out. I don't know whether you're feeling it where you are, but you know this. I live at the top of a hill, so the region is bigger than the hill, but at the hill we've got a subgroup and the volunteers are out there, and every Thursday night we go out and we clap for the NHS and all the carers and the essential workers, and we speak to one another like never before. When in the other place where I lived for 20 years, did I know as many people as I know here now, that we're chatting once a week. That's not happened. And I don't want to let go of that.
Right.
I don't want us all to go back in our home when we come through COVID and we're 6 months past it and we forget the clapping thing. I still want to be able to chat to Sam and Louise and Chloe and all of the others that I've seen.
And maybe find another way to clap.
Yeah, well, but also to be in a street where we smile and we say hello, and now we can walk together. Should we all meet up at the gate and go for a walk together? You know, and we used to help Fred get his shopping. Don't let that stop. Carry on helping Fred get the shopping.
Yeah.
You know, so that community feel, we can carry that forward. And if we do, we will change this planet for the better.
I agree. I agree. So, ladies, you know, in the blog post, I will share all of Vickie's um, social links and her website and her, where you can get her book. And she has several other books behind her. You can see Property for the Next Generation, I see, and I can't read the title on the whiteboard.
Make more money from property, and that's
Okay,
about investor thinking.
good ideas. That's so we'll talk about those in the blog post. And Vickie, we may have to have you back, because maybe down the road, when we're all out and about, we can see what the changes are and have another conversation.
I'd love that. I'd really love that. Thank you, Yvonne.
I thank you so much.
Pleasure.